All right. So last time we ended up talking about microcontroller units, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're going to get to play with some of them. Um, so before we start talking about the Arduinos, Richie brought us a little present.
Wait, wait.
Okay. Richie brought something for show and tell.
Don't break it.
This is called a Raspberry Pi. This is a microcontroller unit. We're going to pass around in a second, but
I can also pass around the nano.
yeah, sure, you can pass this. So basically, a Raspberry Pi is everything you'd have in a computer, all in that little chip. So there's USB ports, audio. You can connect it up to a monitor. Basically, anything you need for like a computer, you can use that to simulate it. Like you can build like I've seen people build like little like handheld video game things, like personal ones, just using a Raspberry Pi. It's pretty cool. Check it out if you are interested.
Basically, Raspberry Pi is its own computer. It has its own operating system called
Pi, Raspberry
something.
Pi. Something about Raspberry
Yeah,
Pi.
something. I think it's called Raspbian or something like that. But yeah.
Pi OS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but today we're going to be using the Nano. I think Richie passed that around too. It's like this little blue chip, and it has a micro USB on one side. So that's what we're going to use to connect to the computer. And then all these pins on the outside, all these silver dots. We talked a little bit last time about pinouts. Um, the only thing we need to know for right now is all these ones that say D, and D stands for digital. So all of the ones that say D are digital pins, which means that they can output a 1 or a 0. In reality, it's 3.3 volts or 0 volts to drive a little circuit. So we're going to be using one of those. Has anyone used Arduino before? Okay, so that's a few of you. If you haven't, I would recommend downloading the IDE right now, so we can have it ready to go when we go downstairs. Just follow the steps. Like go to the website, software and download the right one. You guys should know what to do. Yeah. And while you do that, I'll show you a little bit about the IDE. So it's pretty simple. So the way that Arduino works is they have one section of setup, and that's where you're going to put all your setup. You're going to declare all your variables or ones that you're going to be using in the loop. And then they have the loop section, which is going to run continuously until you tell it to stop. So this is useful for robotics because they want continuous like checking back and forth between the robot, the computer, the pins, and all of that. So yeah, the run button is up there. The arrow, the one right next to it's compile. So click that and then click run to get your code running. Yeah. So the circuit today is going to be pretty simple. We're going to use D13, so that's digital pin 13, on one side of the USB, or on one side of the Uno or the Nano, and that's going to connect to a resistor, and then to an LED to light it up. And then after that, you got to connect it back to ground. So three components. We're going to use breadboards. We have a bunch of little breadboards downstairs. So
These are breadboards. They're
yes.
not like bread
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. They're not bread. VIN, we're not going to worry about VIN. Your computer should supply all of the power through that micro USB cable when you connect it. So don't connect VIN.
When do we use VN?
You use VN when you don't have a connection to a computer. So if you want this running by itself, which eventually we will want to, like based off like a LiPo battery, you can connect that to VN, and that should be good. But right now, computer should take care of all of it for us. So I uploaded this code to the Discord. I would also download that right now if you want. So the code's pretty short. All it does is light up and turn off an LED. So we can trace through this a little bit. The first line is just defining the constant LED. The pin number that we're going through, like we're going through pin 13, right? Yep, pin 13 right here. So we're going to call that 13. And in the setup, because nanos and other Arduino things, they can have these pins as inputs or outputs, and sometimes the microcontroller is going to get confused. So you got to say in your setup that you want to declare that pin, the mode of the pin, to be output. So you say pin mode LED, which is 13. You say output, and then in the loop, all we want to do is turn it on and turn it off. So to write to a pin, a digital pin, you have digital write, and then you put the number, so LED is 13, and then high to turn it on, and then delay waits. This is in milliseconds, so this will be half a second, and then you'll turn it low. So you'll do the same thing you did to turn it on, just low. And then you'll wait another half second, and then it will loop back. So we're going to try to run this code when we get down there. And yeah. And afterwards, if you have that, done, you can try to have it fade in and out. Hint is using a for loop for people who know how to code. Thank you. And if you want to add more LEDs, we should have enough. Yeah, have fun with that. And yeah, I think that's it for me.